Hey guys, welcome to today's episode of Shooting the Breeze at Bobby V's. I'm here with Frank Ramppen, Mike Abate, and Anthony Conte. She's a little ear surgery, so she's going to be joining us today. Another switch of location. Last time we were at Sacred Heart with Bobby V, and now we're in the lobby at the facility because Verge, our producer, is actually doing a little double duty right now. He's manning the front desk, the phones, and producing this podcast at the same time.
He does it all.
He does it all. Really, you know I call him Flex, right? Literally, he's Mr. Flex. Does it all. So we kind of got a general. Oh, go ahead.
In front of Instant Replay.
Exactly.
Who has been here since day one with us, and they have all your sporting good needs, a lot of baseball stuff, take care of all your stuff. Lenny Gambino, we've mentioned in one of our podcasts before. Steve, who will take care of all your glove needs. Lenny breaks in a glove like nobody else, restitches your gloves, and actually we have I don't know when this is going to air, but we do have a bat demo day, November 9th.
November 9th? Yeah, November 9th. Yeah, November 9th.
Okay.
They're really generous from what they do, guys. I mean, we're able to pull bats out. When kids want to demo certain bats during lessons, they're really flexible with that. They're really great people, so come down and see them for sure.
I think lately they've been getting a lot more into printing of apparel and shirts and uniforms, and they do a lot of that. And as you can see on the wall, they've been sponsoring teams in Stamford for 30 plus years. They've been around, we've played against a bunch of Instant Replay sports teams our whole life, and it's pretty cool to have them be in Stamford for that long. Yeah, I went there as a kid for sure. Lenny always hooked it up, and now they're in the facility with us. It's very cool.
Great having them in there.
Yeah, my little brother spends way too much money in there, but that's a story for another day. So today, we're in the middle of the World Series. Game 1 last night.
You know what came to my mind,
Yep.
and I would love to have Bobby in this conversation. Maybe it's a talk for a different time, but I was looking at the players today, and growing up and watching, like, now when I grew up, you're talking about like Don Mattingly, you might be a different era when you grew up. Not putting you down, but I'm just saying, like, players, how the players evolve.
Yeah.
Like, players today are very, like, they're just, I believe they're better. I'm not saying
They're
I'm saying on a whole, they're stronger, they're faster. They started at an earlier age, and I'm not taking anything from the greats like Mickey Mantle, Joey D. Like, those guys are icon and legends. But I'm saying as a whole, like, it's hard to believe that they're players back then as good as they are right now, and what these kids are doing. And I was looking at Altuve, and I think I made comments to you the other night what he did. It's phenomenal what he's able to do and what the younger players are able to do. Look at the kid on the Washington Nationals last night. What is he, 22? Soto
turns 21 at the start of Game 3.
So not only is he like one of the youngest players in the league, but he's not just because of his age. He's one of the best hitters in the league too. Not just because he's young. He's not one of the best young hitters. He's one of the best overall hitters in the league.
And
I really believe that. And he's young.
I probably agree. The athletes today are just bigger, stronger, and faster, and I think they can do more. And I think it is certainly creating a different game, but I think part of what it's created, combined with the fact that it's what rejuvenated baseball years ago when baseball was kind of dying, and then McGuire and Sosa went on the home run tear and the whole steroid era, and the home runs became the big to-do, and everybody liked to see the home runs, and that made money. I don't like what it's done to the game. I mean, you watch a baseball game, there are so many strikeouts, and I know everybody's throwing 95 and up, and that's a big part of it, but they're also preaching and teaching this launch angle, which we've talked about before, and we can talk about at length, but this launch angle to hit home runs, so many strikeouts, which in my opinion really takes a lot away from the game. I mean, you talked about players today versus back then. How about some of the players that struck out 10 times in a season and still hit with power and still had tremendous averages?
That's a good point.
George, you should definitely be over here today because you know all the stats, but there's so many guys today that are tremendous hitters. But I don't like the strikeout. Like last night was a great baseball game.
Yep.
Compared to the Astro-Yankee series with all those strikeouts, especially that last game. I just think putting the ball in play and going the other way and making them have to defend was just such a better game.
It still felt like most of the runs scored were home runs.
Well, there were 2 home runs, right?
Last night?
No, Zimmerman, Soto, Springer.
Springer 1 yard.
That's it, and then
There's 3.
2 big doubles.
3, yeah.
Oh yeah,
getting on base.
How
and
about
the
that
big
one?
doubles.
Was it Springer or correct? Springer who thought he hit another one, and he was sitting there and he should have been on.
Yeah.
which he said he didn't think so. I don't know if you heard the interview with him.
I saw
after the
that.
game.
I saw that.
No, he said that he couldn't, he said because the runner was tagging up, he didn't make any sense. I don't think it made sense to anybody. Obviously, you're an unbelievable player, and I love you. I love watching you, a UConn boy, but you should have been out there, I think.
Yeah, and then, well, Altuve hits a sac fly the next at bat, and it would have been a tie game.
Yeah.
Would have been a tie game.
Yeah.
It's a big moment. And that's where those things, like you said, like the athletes, they're bigger, faster, stronger, but are they actually playing the game? Like Judge, awesome guy, again, love him, great mindset, to get doubled up the other, a couple nights ago, and that's, like, in that situation, in these games, every out, really, really matters.
That was a tough read.
Yeah, and then you got a guy like Gardner, who they put the shift on last week, and he was able to beat the shift and go the other way with it and do that. There's going to be, you think there'll be a push to go back towards those baseball players, per
I've
se?
heard little things here and there. I think Altuve, I mean, everybody knows who he is, but everybody also understands that's not the norm for a guy that size to be able to do what he can do. But there's a lot of other guys that aren't these massive guys that bring a more complete player to the game than some, not all. I mean, some of these monsters are just unbelievable.
Yeah.
But there are some, I think, some smaller players overlooked for the bigger player who, some of those bigger players don't bring as complete of a game to the table for their teams.
I agree. I mean, look at Altuve, and we talk about the smaller player, and there's got to be not like a diagram, but like something based upon a smaller player. Their strike zone is just so much smaller.
Yeah.
So that's got to benefit him, right? And a takeaway from the pitcher, because it's a smaller strike zone, benefit to the hitter. Instead of having a guy like Judge where his strike zone's here, when does that stat or number or metric ever want to come into play?
It'll come. It's coming. When you see Judge swing at that low and outside pitch, his angles are so severe, which those odds go way down for hitting that ball and hitting it right. So no doubt about it. So you say we want smaller guys with smaller strike
No, but I
zones?
think that could be a metric of where the game wants to go too. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what's right or wrong, but I love the way Altuve's playing.
I think it's a combination of both. It's got, I mean, some of these guys, how big is Springer?
6'3"-ish,
Yeah,
How big's Correa? He's a shortstop.
same thing.
I mean, these are big guys, but, then there's these other big guys who don't do what those guys can do, and there's probably other guys that can do more, but they don't have those big metrics, and they go for the bigger guys and the home runs because their sex speed. I think it's going to come back a little bit. And think about it, when guys are throwing 95 to 100 regularly, how about just putting it in play and hitting it hard?
Not even at that level. I tell my kids that all the time. I mean, that's the difference of winning games. Find a way to put that ball in play with 2 outs, put the pressure on the defense. They got to make a play. I mean, if you're striking out 6, 7 a game, the defense only has to play in a 7-inning game, or, in this case in the big leagues, 9 innings, but you have to play like a 5-inning game defensively.
Yeah.
Jeez. It's
But
a win.
it's being told.
It's a win.
Casale told us that, I think it was with the Reds, that they wanted him to swing for the fences more. They wanted him to go deep. They would much rather have him strike out, try and hit bombs, than hit into double plays. 1 out versus 2 outs.
Do each of the teams use a different, because you can look at metrics and study and take, okay, I want this to be our focus. Do each of the teams advertise what their focus is on metrics? Like, how does it work for the Mets when you're scouting a guy? Like, are you looking for a kid's WAR stats like we talked about a couple weeks ago? Are you looking for OPS? How
I'll
does
tell
that
you what,
all-
they have a bunch of numbers, and I don't know exactly what it is, but they can tell you, a college kid, if he hit in a certain conference, what that compares in different conferences. I don't know how they do it, and I don't know what they use, but it's out there. If he plays in the SEC and he hits 300, or if this kid plays in, the Pac-10 and hits this, it's equivalent to this, or if he's D2 and any 10 and he hits this, it's equivalent to this. I don't know how they do it.
Going through the amount of variables you
Yeah.
need to study for that. You need to know each kid on each team if you really want to do it legit.
The average speed of what they're hitting, how hard they're throwing, everything.
And that is probably
I don't know how
a
they do it.
good measurable across the board, but I think these measurables leave out these guys that, he hit this at that level. But if he was at that next level, he probably would have done the same. You know, and I don't know the stats in baseball as well as I don't know the stats in football either, but I know a lot of them. There's so many guys that go undrafted in football and become stars. They get picked up as free agents and they're stars. They got completely overlooked in the draft. And usually it's because their combine numbers weren't what they expected or their little schools.
And this is going to be a tough situation for you to hear, because I know you're a big Raider fan, but who's the best quarterback out there right now?
Best quarterback out there right now?
Who's the GOAT? Verge, who's the GOAT?
Tom Brady.
Thank you,
He's a
Tom
big
Brady.
fan.
And we were just saying how people go overlooked.
Yeah, there you go,
He's
6th
still
round draft
playing-
choice.
he's still
Right?
playing with a chip
You
on
see
his
the pictures of him when he got drafted and what he looked like without a shirt on? Guy's got 6 Super Bowls, going on 7 undefeated. It's
And his wife is ugly,
And got lucky,
disgusting looking.
right? Didn't he get lucky getting his first opportunity?
Yeah, Drew Bledsoe got
Yep,
hurt.
and then that was
Yeah.
that, didn't give him his job back.
Drew got hurt and came in, and the Big Bill loved him, you know?
That has been such, I mean, Boston fans, forget about football, Boston in general, for the last 20 years has been, you
Yeah.
are extremely blessed to be a Boston fan. It's been crazy.
And they're talking about Brady, you know, they're saying that this might be his last year because
Just heard that today.
everybody's finding out that he put his house on the market. Supposedly his trainer's house is on the market, that's in the same town. And something else, like they're looking for
else,
others.
isn't it?
Well, they're saying, well, if he's putting his house on the market, his trainer's putting his house on the market, where's he going? His contract is supposedly ending this year, so, you know, they're saying it could be his last year.
You got a beat on it?
They're saying it could be his last year. I hope not.
Maybe you can call
Well,
Giselle and ask
If I
her.
was you, I would hope so.
It's time for the worm to turn. He should retire, he's been unbelievable, he should go surfing or just go.
Just get out of here, just get out of here.
That'll make a
And
difference.
then, you know what else I heard? I heard Alex Rodriguez interested in the Mets managing job. That just came out of nowhere.
You know?
And I don't know why he would be, because I think he's on top of the world with all the companies he has and his beautiful soon-to-be wife, and
But you know, we were talking to Slanker last week about how this new role is now developing of a guy that is in uniform, in the clubhouse, in the dugout, that is able to understand the metrics and numbers, and then convert it to be able to talk to the athletes.
Yeah.
And he might be a guy who's pretty great at that. He seemed to have a great post-career on TV, and
a lot of them are going ex-players now. I mean, didn't the Cubs just hire the catcher, right?
Today, David Ross got hired as the
David
coach
Ross.
manager.
So the
How
Cubs,
much-
Club manager?
how much does he look like Mark Bruggeman?
he does, he does.
David Ross, not
Yeah.
Taylor.
No, he does. But they're all going with players now, like ex-players, and
To have that relationship feel, because a lot of those calls aren't being made, right?
I think a lot of it is that. I think a lot of it's money, how the money's changed a little bit, and how the GMs want to make more than the managers, and you get those big-time managers like a Torrey or Girardi, like those guys are gonna probably want and demand a little bit more money than maybe a younger player first time in. And then you look at a guy like A-Rod, I mean, does he really care about the whole money situation when he made that much? I think he's made over 400, 500 million on his baseball contracts alone.
I mean, and if he
And that's
goes
not
to-
even endorsements or whatever, but
And
it's
if
just
he goes to the Mets and finds a way to make that work, that'll be a
Will
big
that
check on his list.
increase your value of his cards, his multiple binders of his cards?
It's only one binder, just a really big
Full
binder.
binder of A-Rod
How
cards.
many
How many
A-Rod
total
cards?
cards do you have, Rich?
I think it's 550-something A-Rod cards plus 9 memorabilia, so
you just tell me how many rookie cards, because those are really the only cards that matter.
there's 2 rookie cards, but the entire, like, back 3 pages of it
Yeah.
are A-Rod cards that are minimum $25 a piece.
Excuse me, I gotta pull up a chair for Tim.
So back to that whole metric stuff and managers, I think that everybody's talking about
Thanks, man.
the front office really managing the team and determining the lineups and positions, and that the manager doesn't have to do as much as they used to in terms of evaluating players and there's a trend, which I don't like. I don't know, I didn't play in the days of the metrics, but, you know, it's easy to see who could hit and who can't. It's easy to see who's got this and who doesn't, and,
It's easy for, you've been around baseball your whole life, but guys like us aren't usually the ones owning the teams, right? It's the guys with mega money that didn't necessarily play their whole lives, that need a different way to
I
understand.
just don't think there's a mathematical equation for everything in life.
Yeah.
No, I think it's a little bit of both. It's the baseball side of it mixed in with that info you can receive at a manager's point of view, or front office point of view, it's a mixture of both, and we always say,
We talked about this when we were starting to do our curriculum videos of there's the art
Verge, are we allowed to eat on this?
and there's the science.
Are we allowed?
Yeah, right, there's the art and there's the science part.
Yeah.
Right, and the science part is understanding, yeah, if I hit this ball 30 miles per hour harder than you do at this angle, it's got a greater chance of getting through. You know, and if I don't,
Art's got to time it up.
How many times do you do that?
Exactly.
I like those analytics.
Yeah, you're
I don't
up.
care how hard you hit it, how often do you hit it that hard?
Like the hard hit average, like that's the
Yeah.
one statistic that I think is good out of all these,
Yeah.
which is the 10% of your highest exit velocity is hard.
So you hit 100 miles an hour 1 out of 30 times, but that guy hits it 92
Right,
a lot
right.
and can run.
Exactly. Go
So,
figure on the first one. But
I think metrics are gonna just continue, there's gonna be so many of the line items of,
So I kind of walked in
Metrics.
halfway through that. As in-game, how much conversation and communication, how do they communicate from the top down, from the front office down? Like, we're talking about, like, Boone isn't making the decisions on his pitching changes when it comes to his bullpen. How is that getting communicated to him?
during a game.
Yeah.
he picks up the phone to call the pen, somebody intercepts the call, and then they call the pen.
Or does he have all those numbers beforehand and they say, here are your numbers, here are your range, you're gonna make your decisions based off these ranges and these numbers and these situations? And they give him a little autonomy in there.
I would
It's like a
like to believe,
guideline.
I don't know, I've never been in a big league, dugout before, but I'd like to believe it's
The
like
latter,
that.
yeah.
Before the game, you have everybody's numbers, you know what this hitter's done against his pitcher, you know what the stats say, you know what the shifts are and everything like
Right.
that, and then you're playing numbers and percentages. And like, I think like a good manager always does, it's the third inning, he's already thinking about the sixth and seventh.
I don't think
Your
I'm
matchups.
managed, not that I'm a manager, but I don't think I would have any desire to manage if it was something that was happening. If I was getting a phone call and somebody
It's by
was
the, yeah, it's by
telling
the
me
book,
to move.
and then
those
afterwards, you gotta eat all the crap from the media.
pieces. Yeah.
How did it work in Japan? Obviously, when you guys were there, the metrics weren't to this level, but you had data, you had stats, how'd that work in that aspect?
As time went on, Bobby refined the data that he wanted, and I had like 4 or 5 binders, one of A-Rod, 4 or 5 binders of different information that Paul Pupo, our other buddy, had put together at Bobby's request, and
Pupo?
Paul Pupo, yeah.
Just check.
Oh, one of your best friends, Pooh?
That,
Not to be close.
I mean, it's not like Bobby ever asks for me to look stuff up, he would ask me to look things up and show him from time to time, and he didn't always make his decision based on what we just looked up.
What was he looking, at what data, at what stats?
All kinds of
Like
matchups.
matchup,
Yeah.
more particular matchup basis,
Mostly
hitter versus
matchups,
hitter.
Yeah, but most of it was in here. I mean, I got a funny story, but to finish that, there's no chance Bobby was taking, now I know it's 10 years ago, but Bobby was taking direction from somebody in the front office studying numbers on what he was gonna do. I mean, maybe, there was a conversation every once in a while, but I'll never forget this. This was, we were out of it our last year with the season winding down, and he said, all right, you're managing today. I said, okay.
What time was it? Was it like 2 minutes before game time?
Yeah, the game started. He goes, you got the game today. So,
Classic.
there were a couple of things that happened, but we have the board of both rosters right behind us. You see the managers always going, it was a little different in Japan how it was mapped out, but you're constantly looking back and thinking ahead for different matchups, seeing the flow of the game and how things were going. And he would ask me, there are two good stories here. He was asking me what I was looking at as the game was mid-game, and he said, what are you looking at? And I brought up a situation that might happen 2 innings from now, and who would be the best matchup for those potential hitters in that potential situation. He said, that's good. He said, and what about in 4 innings if so-and-so comes up with the bases loaded and 2 outs? I said, I didn't go 4 innings yet. It happened. That guy came up, bases loaded, 2 outs. It was funny. And in that same situation, that same game, we talked about, do you remember? Now, it's September. He said, do you remember earlier in the year, this matchup? I said, yeah, I do. Fujita was our pitcher, thrown against, I don't remember who the hitter was, but I remember the matchup, and I remember what happened. And, Bob was giving me pats on the back, and I remember all this. He goes, do you remember what happened? And I said, yeah, I remember what the result. He goes, remember what pitch it was? I remembered a lot of it. He remembered the pitch
The count.
that he threw and the count in that situation. So, and that's why personally, I've never spent as much time with anybody at that level like Bobby, but I have been around a lot of guys. You know, Bobby's mind, his memory, his gut, you know, I think it's a little different for him. And that stuff happened all the time, that he knows that stuff. So yeah, it's almost like, we were talking about this at his office, and I just saw something on ESPN about that, is that metrics by itself, in my opinion, aren't that valuable. But if they complement your eyes of what you're seeing, and that's what I think Bobby would do. He knows what he's going to do. He says, hey, look this up real quick, and I'll look it up and see that stat, and it would be
most likely
confirm his thought. If it didn't, he was doing it. He's probably doing it anyhow. But I tell you, that's fun, and that I tell you what, the more you do anything in life, the better you get at it, the more calm you are, the more time slows down for you to handle it. But you know, when you're thinking far ahead and all of a sudden boom, 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 hit, and all of a sudden that scenario is on you, you got to be prepared. Which is why I know I said this to you guys at one point when we were talking about our Fury program and our travel teams, is that why do all of our coaches, or not all of our coaches, walk out slowly to the mound and walk back slowly? And one of the answers was, you know, thinking about what you're going to say. And I said, if you're thinking about what you're going to say on your way out to the mound, you're not thinking far enough ahead, even at the youth level. You got to have a plan always. And I just like keeping the game moving. Get out there, get off, unless your pitcher needs some time, you need to stall, you need to get a pitcher ready in the bullpen. But you got to be thinking way ahead. And to have the metrics in your head, like Bobby V does, it's a huge advantage. If you don't, you got the books there, it helps.
Did you ever have to do any mound visits?
No.
No?
You know what's funny though, just Bobby was much more of an animated hothead when he was here in the States. He only got thrown out of one game in Japan, and it was early in our 6 years there. And I was not the bench coach at the time, so I didn't take over. There was another head coach at the time, but I thought it was really funny. So Bobby goes out to argue, and at first he's very, very calm and very descriptive, you know, firm, but he's yelling, and the interpreter is interpreting, trying to do it as best he can for what Bobby's saying. Shooting Nakasone, by the way, did an unbelievable job. You know, and
Was he saying word for word, or is he trying to make it nice?
No, he's trying to do what he's supposed to be doing and interpret that, and Bobby ends up getting thrown out, and the interpreter got fined.
Because he was the one saying it?
Oh my God.
That's awesome.
That's funny.
Oh, that's great.
Did they pick up the fine for him?
I'm sure he did.
Yeah,
I thought that was funny. And I tell you, umpires in Japan take way more than they do in the States. Umpires here stand up for themselves a lot more and don't back down. They take some crap on.
Do a lot of coaches go after umpires like you see here, or is it a little less aggressive?
Probably a little bit more respectful, right?
Yeah, but when they flip, they flip. And
That's human nature. When you go, you go.
They're very hands-on. There's more hands-on scenarios there.
Like physically hands-on?
Yeah, well, they chest bump them and they push them, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Might get sued today.
Yeah.
America.
But it is funny to hear him yelling in English being interpreted. And then, this is pretty cool, when the scenario, when that's over, the umpire goes to the microphone, PA, to the whole stadium, and announces what just happened.
Really?
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Their communication there.
And since we're on Japan for a minute, I've thought of this, it's funny that way my mind would go there. So the ushers and the usherettes in Japan, you know, similar to the States, but service is tremendous in Japan. They carry small kegs on their back.
And pour 'em.
And they're mostly girls, these tiny little Japanese girls working the stadium stairs with these tiny little kegs on their back, and the beer is so fresh and so cold, and I'm thirsty.
They're eating noodles in the stands.
Eating noodles, making a lot of noise in the stands. So then we went all over there, but metrics, you know, I think the beers were 16 ounces.
Those are the metrics that are important.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't want to see metrics ruin the game, and I know I'm old and I'm old school and played in an era when metrics weren't a big deal, and I don't know, I'd like to see them be an aid to the human element of the game, and I would like to see strikeouts reduced, more balls in play. I mean, some of these guys
Yeah.
are incredible defensively, and to see them make the plays that they do is so much fun, and just to see so many strikeouts and.
I think the pitching got so much better over the past.
It did, but so you would
15
think,
years.
let's put it in play.
Yeah.
Let's not try to
I don't know
increase
if
our launch
they're
angle and hit it
capable of
out.
putting in play. Hitters got bigger and stronger, they're just missing, they're getting blown away. So when they get it, it goes farther. What would be a double in the gap is going over the
I
fence.
definitely think that's
And
part of it.
power pitching, I think, is just dominating hitters.
Yeah,
right
we
now.
talked about that before, that's definitely part of it, but I think there's another angle to the counter, and how to figure it out. These guys are so good.
So I'm trying to think back to a couple years ago when the Mets made that World Series run. Obviously, that was a very pitching dominant year, right? I'd love to see the home run numbers from
Talking about
then.
recently, or when
Yeah.
Bobby was in
No,
there?
when, recently.
Okay.
What year was that? That was
2015.
15. So 4 or 5 years ago now. I wonder if the home run numbers were as high as they are this season. Or if we saw, like baseball saw, oh crap, our pitchers are starting to dominate, we gotta do something for our hitters to start to balance it out, and maybe that's when the ball change came. So you're seeing 5 years ago, pitchers step up, start really dominating hitters, the MLB says, this is boring, we need to do something, how can we help the hitters? Change the ball, but now all you're seeing, still get to swing and miss, but now it's just going a little farther.
As a
So,
hitter, I
yeah.
think you gotta make the ball a little bit bigger.
Tim,
And you gotta make the hole in golf a little bit bigger.
I've heard that one, 5-gallon bucket on public courses.
All-star golfing then?
I've heard that.
Yeah.
Because they're like, forget it, these guys are 4-putting. Like,
Yeah.
make it whole big.
Speed it up.
18 to 21 of the 30 teams this year set franchise records for home runs.
Okay, so
that-
there is definitely an
Has the
increase.
MLB come out and said that we changed the ball?
No,
No.
they're denying it.
Well, what about strikeouts records?
Strikeouts are,
Same.
yeah, same unrealistic
Yeah.
jump.
I think about it a decade ago, we saw the pitchers starting to become way more dominant. When we were kids, there was 2, 3, 4 guys in the league that were throwing 98 plus. That's on every staff now.
Yep.
With the two seams backing up, arm sidearm guys.
I still
sliders.
think I understand what you're saying, but if you have these tremendous, bigger, stronger athletes that are taking a little bit of a different approach, like Torres has his approach that early in the count, he's got the big leg kick, he's hacking, and then later on, he's got a lot smaller movement, which that's hard to have
Votto
two
does a similar
different approaches.
thing,
There's a
too.
bunch of guys doing it
Yeah.
now. If they can make those kind of adjustments, to have angles where you're staying on the ball a little bit longer and making a little different angled contact on these balls, just trying to square balls up, they're gonna go far. They may not go 450, 480, but they'll get in gaps and they'll go 350 and get over fences.
So when you're just watching the game, do you see the swings like a lot physically different from what you were watching back when you were a kid?
Yeah, definitely. But honestly, I have not been a big watcher of baseball on TV. As a kid, I didn't watch a ton of games. Right now, I mean, I'm in here teaching all the time. I coached for all those years. I saw so many games at that high level. I saw so many games as a coach at the lower levels. But that last game of the ALCS, I saw so many, I was calling them G-hacks, where they're
Yeah.
swinging for a home run on every pitch. It was, in my opinion,
Yeah.
discouraging.
Now, would you ever, what do you teach as a two-strike approach? So we just mentioned, these guys widen out a little bit and they just kind of simplify their movements. They're not swinging any slower, right? They're not trying to slow down their bat to barrel balls up, are they?
Less linear movement?
Right, they're still saying with the same
I will
intent.
tell you with what's going on right now, because Bobby and I have talked about it a lot, it's for young kids, to teach young kids, depending on their level, to have two different swings, one that's got a big leg kick, one that's got a small leg kick, and you have to master those two timing events.
Yeah.
That's not so easy, but some of these guys are doing it at the major league level and having success, so I think we need to continue to look into it, but our teach, or my approach, is that when you have two strikes, especially at the youth level, and everybody's complaining about the umps at the major league level so much. We know that the umps at the younger levels, nothing against the umps, they're not great. They give a lot extra off the plate for multiple reasons, because pitchers don't throw strikes so efficiently. They have time
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 limits.
limits on all the games, so the strike zone is pretty wide, so the approach with 2 strikes is to expand the strike zone, swing at 2 balls off the plate on either side, swing at balls a little lower, swing at balls a little higher, get more aggressive. My big thing is 2 strikes, expand the zone and get aggressive, which for some kids it works, for some kids they just can't pull the trigger and battle.
So you never teach a kid to choke up?
I think choking up's a smart thing to do, but, and even getting on the plate a little bit, because at most of the young levels, how many guys are pounding the ball effectively inside? Not many. Everybody's going away with 2 strikes.
Yep.
So getting up on the plate a little bit, getting down on the bat a little bit, and just being aggressive. But most kids hate choking up.
Yep. I've been teaching that a lot too, with 2 strikes, so look away. I've never really talked about expanding both sides of the park, because I felt like that was a lot. But I talk about look away, because, like you said, a lot of kids are going outside fastball. Good catcher, bad umpire, you're gonna get 2 or 3 balls off the plate.
Yeah.
And if you're looking for that outside fastball, you're looking to let it travel and go that way. And then if they throw you, change up or a curveball or anything off speed, you're already looking to let that travel. You're not thinking pull happy.
Right.
If
If you
you get-
try to hit a breaking ball out in front, at 12 to 15 miles off fastball, you're in trouble.
You're in trouble. Now, if they throw you in, up and in, you might get tied up a little bit. You gotta be an athlete and try to get you out there.
You see that ball, the guy hitting the gap last night, that was up and in? Who was it? Guriel,
In the
maybe?
first inning, right?
How did he hit
Last
that
half,
ball?
yeah. He just pulled his hands and get the barrel there, yeah.
Well, I think going back to launch angle, if we heard launch angle, and then people, where they get confused, is they think it's a teach. Launch angle is the result of the ball coming off of the bat, and they think, I gotta get my bat on this angle. And you started to see a rise going backwards to the high fastballs, because guys can't get to that pitch as much, and then I think, again, it started to go backwards. Like when the Astros started talking about really staying connected, that high pitch, you're way less severe of an angle, versus a low pitch, you have a more severe of an angle. You're the whole,
No, but the plane of your swing will result in more balls off the top of your bat.
Right. So we're thinking like now, some people might be teaching too severe of a plane on your swing that doesn't match your plane of your pitch. Right?
Well, I don't know how you could hit that, it's just reducing the percentages.
Because what is it, a baseball, a pitch drops on average 1 foot for every 10 feet, right? So,
I do not know the number.
7?
yeah, it's somewhere around there, 1 foot for every 7 feet, something like that.
So I'm
there's
thinking
definitely
about
a drop in
Alex
elevation.
Lapalese. That was the beginning of this. He took our teaching and overcorrected almost. Remember, he had a very, very severe angle, and he kept slicing balls off, and every once in a while, he absolutely hammer a ball.
Disconnected.
Well, as soon as that front shoulder goes there, the angles start to get steep. And that's what I'm saying, I think a little different.
Going back to the 2-strike approach, I remember when I was coaching 2015, the Mets, and Lamar Johnson was still there. He was a coordinator, the minor league hitting coach. He's like, we're trying to get our 2-strike approach out to the minor leaguers, and their approach was try to see two or three more pitches. I always thought about that, and you can't just tell a kid, okay, go up there and try to see 2 or 3 more pitches. It doesn't work. But when you think about what it does and how you want to attack and how you can teach it, it makes sense, right? So like the biggest things I tell my hitters with 2 strikes
There's
is,
Steve, owner of Insta Replay.
Hey, nice, Steve.
Hi, oh.
the biggest things I tell my hitters with 2 strikes is confidence. Have confidence you could get the job done with 2 strikes, right? I tell them to eliminate the high fastball, protect more about the outside fastball. I don't say over, the whole general area, you gotta, I think that's too much. I think you eliminate the high fastball, you protect more on the outside part of the plate, and you're just more.
What does protect mean?
But have more, your outside zone is a little bit more. So when I say protect over the.
Be more aggressive away.
Expand on the outside just a little bit.
Yeah.
But eliminate the high fastball for sure.
And part of that is to practice it. And we try to do that in all of our lessons. And one of the things that I learned later on, playing and coaching, was that when you maintain your posture and you take a good swing at that low and away pitch, it's amazing how many times you foul it off. You just get a piece of it and foul it off. When you give up your posture and you go to get it, you put it in play and you hit a weak ground ball or a pop-up. So working on staying tall and letting that outside pitch travel and work on it, you said confidence. and working on not feeling like I'm doomed with 2 strikes.
Yeah.
Now, if it's low and away, don't you feel like there needs to be?
There's a little different tilt.
Yeah.
But you don't give up your posture and take your head there and not use your legs and take your normal swing. When you take a normal swing with the right tilt and the right angle.
This was doing a little bit,
Yeah,
that down, then
Yeah.
that pop back up.
Yeah.
The overcorrection.
watch it do it, to see how many guys foul
The
things.
approach
But then
is-
there's guys that just are capable of taking a different swing and putting the bat on the ball. Gardner's ability to foul balls off is pretty amazing.
Yeah. That kid Juan Soto is pretty good too.
We talk about making adjustments. Did you see his first at bat against Cole?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Struck out on pitches up here,
Yeah.
97, 98. Then he gets up again, and he throws the same pitch, 96, and he, I don't know, Oppo over the train, like that's incredible for him.
Opposite field.
That was a bomb.
And you just
But we
said-
talk about making adjustments. We did it again,
Yeah.
and he do, and he's like, okay, I'm on, you
And
know,
that point
like.
of contact was perfect. Yeah, he mushed that ball.
You know, we talk about this a lot with our kids. When you go to the batter's box, you gotta clear your mind. You can't be thinking about your technical parts of your swing or anything else while you're tracking a pitch coming in. But you have to think as a hitter to make adjustments from at-bat to at-bat, from pitch to pitch, and that's why I remember the big thing, Big Papi saying it the most, but when they were talking about not letting batters step out of the batter's box in between pitches, he goes, well, how do I think and make an adjustment? You gotta make adjustments, you gotta have an idea. I mean, at the youth levels, it's a different adjustment that you have to make because pitchers don't have the same strategies and abilities to execute different things like they do at the high levels, but you gotta see that this kid hasn't thrown a ball middle in the whole game. Make an adjustment, pay attention. I don't think enough kids today do that.
That's huge, huge. Talk about how there's the zone, there's your zone, and then there's the umpire zone. And you gotta know
Only
all.
one of them matters.
Yeah.
How does he attack a hitter similar than you? Does he do something different once he gets a runner in scoring position? A lot of good pitchers and good pitching coaches will attack hitters differently once there's a guy on second base.
Right, they're afraid to break the ball in the dirt to get the free runner to
Yeah,
third base.
you know,
Yeah.
first time through, everybody's maybe seeing fastballs not go to breaking ball or secondary pitch, and then, you know, kid gets on second base, it could all change. You know, what's he going to with his 2 strikes? 0-2, 1-2.
Yep.
You know, what's his out pitch?
That might change
All
for the
stuff-
runner on third, your out pitch might change
Yeah.
because you're afraid of the ball
All
in the
that
dirt.
stuff comes into play, and that's what they should be taught and really experiencing on the bench, watching
You
the
have to
game.
experience it.
So what have you seen that is an effective way to get kids to think that way?
I think the coaches just have to be on them, like, it really comes from like when they're out there and they're, you know, like you as a coach, you have to say, okay guys, what are you watching right now? What'd you see? And you constantly have to have that conversation with them, so it becomes routine for them. Once they're on the game and they're on the bench, okay, you know what, I'm in a 4 slot, but I'm gonna see how he attacks this 3-hitter right here. Nobody on, starts off with a fastball, doesn't go to his curveball, 0-2, this is his out pitch. You have a better idea of it.
Like you're watching the Astros talk, they're so excited to talk to each other between at-bats because they're passing along information. They're like little kids.
You know, we just played in the tournament this weekend, and my leadoff hitter, Christian Arrow, was a good player, actually going for him. He was on second base, and the hitter strikes out or whatever. The inning's over, and we're on off the field. And he's like, coach, he goes, they're going one sign. I go, don't tell me, go tell the teammate. I go, make sure everybody's on the same page. You know, like, that's part about, and I'm not saying stealing signs or something is good, but
But it's
like,
going down
it's part of the
one side,
game.
that's on him.
It's part of the game. You know what I mean? But at least he's out there, like, looking at the game and
Right.
visualizing what he can do
Right.
to help the team win, you know?
Now, so once that happens, you tell them, go tell the teammates, do you have a set way to call it out? Do you have
Oh, yeah,
to do that? 'Cause-
they know, like, they can't just be jumping on second. Yeah.
Yeah, I caught a kid in college looking back at second base, and he's sitting there like this, holding number 2 down. So, see it, mid-balance point, spin it to a fastball,
Yeah.
was waiting for it to break, and...
I was gonna say, you didn't tell your catcher it was coming, but you just right there.
Right.
There's all different tips, man. I mean, coaching third base and coaching first base, the way the catcher sets up.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can see the signs. You know, sometimes it's just, and I'll tell you what, I was the type of hitter, I don't know how you guys were, but like, I didn't, as crazy as this was, I didn't want to know this.
Yeah, there's some kids
Don't
who-
tell me what the
Yes.
hell's coming, because I just gotta see it react. Half the time when I hit the ball, I didn't even know what the hell it was. What'd you hit? No idea.
That goes back to not thinking the batter's
No, but like,
box.
seriously,
You're
was it a
just an
slider?
athlete.
I don't know.
You just recognize
You know, just-
where to hit it.
Yeah, and the angle, and it's just,
But back to recognizing stuff, and I think there's a certain level of instinct there and to teach. And some kids, it's harder to teach those instinctual parts of the game, like noticing that a catcher's setting up differently, or noticing that there's trends going on during the day, during the game, that things are going too fast, or they're not focused enough, or they don't care enough.
That's what I think when people say baseball is boring. It's like they don't really get the little games inside the game.
Unless you know it, you're not gonna see it.
Right? When you're watching a play and you can see 35 things going on, where someone else is like, why are they just standing there? You know? And
It's like when you have that shortstop that no matter where the ball is hit, no matter what speed it's beat at, he's throwing that runner out by a step and a half.
Yeah.
Because he just gets that time and space. He goes, I have to get the ball there, and I know how fast he is, and whether it's laced at me at 95 miles an hour or hit at me at 45, like, I get that. Those are the same guys that pick up on the little things that you're talking about.
And sometimes you don't even know it. Like you said, you don't know pitching. Everybody talks about the changeup, the curveball, that you slowed your arm down a little bit, and that the good hitter sees that. And they don't necessarily go back to the dugout and define exactly what it was that they saw.
Different.
Something was different. There's the famous Len Gambino. Hey, so you just recognize something that looks different, that your experience processes differently in your brain, and you make it happen.
Yeah, we are producers being a little distracted by Lenny Gambino. He's a legend. He's actually going to be joining us on our, what do we decide to coin that?
Legends never die.
Legends Never Die. We have a podcast series, and you are on there.
I gotta leave my apron on.
Yeah, oh yeah, sure. For sure. Hey, Nala, can you leave Lenny alone? So why don't you come back over here?
She smells my,
Yeah. What kind of dogs do you have, Len?
We eat now?
not being my daughter.
Oh, yeah.
I'm cleansing.
Can we eat now? Oh, we're not supposed to eat? Sorry, guys. I like to eat. Go ahead, down. Lay down. There you
Back
go.
there's a-
That's a good
you
girl.
guys still on?
Yeah, we're live.
What's that? Yeah, we're recording.
There's a heck of a story in the Sports Illustrated.
Come on, Len, get over here. Okay, take it. Pop in there, Len.
I gotta
Taylor there.
take my stuff.
Taylor, you're in charge. Len Gambino, I got
All right.
a legendary voice of WSTC Sports 100 years ago, right? Yeah. So what was the story?
Well, you get an extra Sports Illustrated, and Bonnie always brings it to us.
Yeah.
There's a heck of a story there about Tom Seaver, and I just got into the radio business about that time. Got to meet him, Buddy Harrells and Shamsky.
Pretty awesome.
In the process of following Bobby, he was with the Dodgers, they got traded to the Angels, that kind of.
Yep.
And that was the craziest thing, even people say, why didn't Bobby go play football? We were all worried he was gonna get hurt. He winds up
getting hurt playing baseball.
And I never forget that night, I was at WSTC, and his dad, Joe, late dad, Joe, called me and told me how he had crashed into the fence, and he was leading the league with a batting average of about 306.
Yeah. Remember that? And he wasn't supposed to play, actually.
He volunteered.
Well, it was the day before. Mickey Rivers was penciled in to play center field, said he didn't feel well. So, was it Alvin Dark?
Bobby Winkles.
Bobby Winkles was manager? Bobby played center field that day. Nolan Ryan pitched no-hitter. So the next day's lineup, for superstitious ways that baseball players and managers have, he started the same lineup, and that was the day Bobby got it.
It was a shame because it was never the same.
Yeah. In today's world, if surgery was the way it is now, he probably would have been able to continue to.
Sad
Put a
about
stick and some tape and.
I mean, he was out of balance. One leg was longer than the other, his speed was different, his balance was different.
And like Bobby had told me, the fences are not like they are today.
Yeah.
It's all chain link,
Like that
right?
chain link.
Yeah.
What a shame. What a shame, such a talented guy.
He was telling me that when he had like the full leg cast, that he got atrophy and his thighs were so big that the cast got loose, and that's what set it a little funny down low. It's because it was lost some muscle, loosened up, and
Well, I think Frank
started from there.
didn't he have to have it drained every so often, if I remember?
Well, we should have had it drained a little bit more, there's still a hockey puck.
Yeah,
It's got a baby fist on the
I
side.
was gonna say, he had like a golf ball. I
Yeah,
remember he was
still.
telling me.
Oh, it's still,
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a shame.
You ever see the picture of the injury?
Yeah.
It was hanging on the
Still
wall
in
of
the
the restaurant.
fence and
Yeah.
come down?
No,
Yeah.
he's falling back down
Yeah.
to the ground with his legs up in the air, and the bad leg is doing that. Yes.
Just like kind of hanging.
His foot is down here, his knee's up here. Sorry, Bob, talking about your...
Yeah, well, on that note,
Still a hell of an athlete.
that was
Skiing.
today's episode of Shooting the Breeze at Bobby V's, and hope to have Lenny Gambino back on next time and get it going. Thank you so much, Len, for everything you've done. We were telling before how cool it is that, you know, I was coming to Instant Replay 20 years ago as a kid, and Mom buying me stuff, and
Yeah.
remember how awesome of a dude you were, and now we have to share a building, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, sometimes I get itchy, I like to get back in, but,
Want to start doing lessons?
you know, I'm in my 70s, I don't need to travel anymore.
Yeah, we got you right here. We'll get you all over the world right here. Shoot the Breeze at Bobby V's. Awesome. Thanks, guys, so much. And remember to subscribe down below. Hit the like button. Leave us any comments if you thought anything that Frank said today was funny. He likes that. And we'll make sure that we give you some great stuff going forward. Have a good one.